Hello, everybody. What's going on? So this is another episode, Fascinating People, where I get a chance to speak one-on-one with one of my patrons, rather than just have like the clutter of like the hangouts. We get to sit down one-on-one and just have a long conversation, get to learn about the person, and it's actually one of my favorite things to do with my channel. So I'd like to introduce everybody to TentacleBound.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so TentacleBound has been a patron of mine for actually a really long time, and yeah, we've talked here and there. You've been on some patron streams, but it's like we said before, like when we were talking offline, it's they get a bit chatty sometimes.
Oh yeah, they get nice and spicy, almost as spicy as the food over here. But we won't go there. We just don't go there.
So you live in Texas. Can I ask what part of Texas?
I'm actually out of San Antonio.
Okay. Yes, they do have spicy ass food in San Antonio. Were you
yes,
born?
And it is better than Austin.
It is. Yes, a lot of things are better than Austin. A lot of people like Austin. I'm not really sure why.
It's the whole. It's the California portion of Texas. Everybody that's like, oh, it's all hipster crap. And if you lived in Texas for any modicum amount of time, you either hate Austin, hate San Antonio, hate Dallas, or hate Houston. Everything else is fine. It's one of those four. You either love them or you hate them.
I hated Houston, and I was really unimpressed with Austin. But I actually really got along rather well with people in San Antonio and Dallas, especially Dallas. Dallas people fucking love me. I'm not really sure why.
Dude, Dallas people are fun. I love all of my friends out of Dallas. They're a handful.
Yeah, absolutely. But were you born and raised in Texas?
Yes, born and raised in Texas. I was born 4 hours south of San Antonio, so in the McAllen, Far San Juan area, which is 5 minutes away from the Mexican border. So technically, you can consider me a traditional wetback.
Fair enough. Okay. So we're getting ethnic
growing
with this
up there.
episode.
Oh yeah, we're getting really ethnic. You're talking to one of your POCs as the as the new terminology is dictating that I'm now a person of color as opposed to just being Hispanic, which is annoying. Why?
Did you so growing up, especially like growing up in Texas and near the border and shit like that, would you have rather preferred growing up people called you Hispanic or Mexican?
Didn't really matter. Most of the time we were always under the same thing. Like if somebody traveled, let's say it's you, me, and somebody else, let's say they're from New York. We're traveling out of the country. You're going to say you're from the States. Person from New York is going to say they're from the States. I'm going to say I'm from Texas. That is a very, very big stereotype. And we usually just refer to ourselves as Texans. But if I had to weigh in one or the other, I'd have to say just either call me Mexican or call me Hispanic. It doesn't make a difference. It's really, really simple.
I always found that kind of interesting too, because that actually touched on something I was gonna ask about, which is like I do. It's something that I never have to experience because I'm just a cracker. Is like when people look at me, they can say like the first thing that comes to their mind is American. They listen to the sound of my voice and that sort of thing. But for some god awful fucking reason, if you're not just some white bread American cracker, like people have to automatically attach like some sort of person of color like label attached onto it, and I find that fucking obnoxious. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not that obnoxious for you, but I find it irritating as shit.
It is, to be relatively honest. Like I've come from a place where I grew up not seeing my first black person until I was like 14. Because it was nothing but Hispanics, and maybe one or two white people. That was about it. And that was only when we traveled that I got to see anybody of a different ethnicity. So I always assumed when I was younger that everybody was just a person. And that was what was drilled in my head by my old man. It's like, you're just a person. Your skin color is based on very specific genetic traits. That's it. That's it. Granted, they were religious, so there was a other bunch of BS that's involved with that. But most of the time it was just, you're just a person. And if somebody calls you by your race, then you have every right to do the same thing to them.
And the same
eye for an eye kind of crap.
Yeah, and the same thing with my dad too. My dad grew up in like a tiny frozen hellhole town in northern Michigan, and like there's no racial fucking diversity whatsoever. So for him, growing up devoid of like racial tensions as well, like that same thing happened to him. And then when I was growing up, is way over here on the coast of Oregon, same fucking thing. So I mean, it just didn't even like enter into my consciousness. I was like, that's not real. That shit only happens on TV and in movies, you know.
Exactly, and I think there was only one time I've experienced any form of racism. That's when, which is it happens. As big as Texas is, you're going to get places that are very, very similar to the rest of the U.S. So, like, if you go to East Texas is a lot closer to like Louisiana, Arkansas. You're getting closer to like Mississippi and Alabama and all that stuff. So, like, the first time I ever experienced racism was out of Huntsville, Texas, which is just outside of Houston,
Yep.
which still actually has members of the KKK in it. Unironically enough, it wasn't the white people that were calling me a spick or anything of the sort. It was your blacks, your Asians, and like even your dot Indians. Like
Wow.
it was bad. And I was in high school as a freshman, and our group was called the Mexican Marching Band. And we crossed the river to get over here to compete for this competition. I'm like, that is the most racist thing I've ever heard. Mind you, we're all laughing.
Yeah.
We're like, there's nothing you can say to us that would make this, because I mean, we all think you're hilarious because you guys are darker than us. Like half of us are either tan or we're a bit white or we're just a little bit darker. Like we cover all colors of the spectrum. Like if you
Right.
go from Texas all the way down to as far as South America as you possibly can, you start seeing white, kind of tan, white, then really dark. So we cover
Mm.
all colors of the spectrum, which is hilarious because we're the same thing. We're just Hispanic or Mexican
Right.
or South
Right.
American. Take your pick.
It's wild, man. It's wild.
It really is. It really, really is.
I always found it interesting because I went to high school in Panama, Central America, and Panama is like a big travel hub. A lot of different cultures, especially in South and Latin America, come there. And hearing like inter-country Latin American racism was really interesting. Like Bolivians talking shit on like Ecuadorians, or somebody from Costa Rica talking shit on somebody from what's the what's one right next to Costa Rica?
Puerto Rico.
No, Puerto Rico's an island. It's shit. Honduras?
My geography is terrible, so don't.
It's Hondurans.
Probably Honduras.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. Like some of them just did not like each other. Some were fine, but it was like, why don't you like
It,
them?
it's weird though because it's like one of those things where you have different sects of people that are white. They're either Caucasian or they're European, Northern European, Eastern Europe, whatever you want to call it. But
Mhm.
most of like the Hispanic or the Spanish dissenting people, they have this varying degree of hatred for each other. Everybody can collectively agree that most people that have Spanish descent hate people from Ecuador. That's always the most common thing. It is weird. It is
Why?
the weirdest thing. I have no idea. As soon as I got of age, I moved away from the Rio Grande Valley and came up to San Antonio. I'm like, I might as well have a little bit more experience with the world, because if I stay there, I'm going to either end up like doped up on really nasty drugs, knocking somebody up, or drinking myself into a coma.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all there is to do there is drink, do drugs, or get somebody knocked up, and that's the end of your life.
Fuck, that's crazy. Um, so you mentioned a little bit about your dad. Are you pretty close with your family still?
Um, Technically, only my father.
Okay.
I don't see eye to eye with my mother. Unironically enough, considering all the body modification that I've done, the biggest issue was the fact that I decided that I wanted to alter the way I looked. The
Okay.
tattoos are fine. For some reason, tattoos were okay, but it was all the piercings that I used to have. I used to have my entire face just covered in metal. Probably that was probably the reason why I did it, was because she hated it so fucking much.
Oh yeah.
But I never saw eye to eye with her. My old man, we've had our hiccups, but I still see him to this day.
That's cool. That's good. But traveling, you also mentioned traveling. Like, where all have you been?
I've been upwards most of the East Coast, and I've gone most of the Midwest, and I've done a portion of the West Coast. I've been from Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, and then Nevada real quickly
Yeah.
just to travel, and then came back straight to Texas. But the furthest I've had to travel is Japan.
You
Japan
went
is
to
the furthest I've been.
Japan. Wow.
Fuck yeah, I did.
How old were you when you went to Japan?
This was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Oh man, shit. Because every now and then I'll ask somebody like, where have you gone? And they'll say something really interesting. I'm like, oh, awesome, cool. How, what was it like? Did you get to party? And they're like, oh no, I was like 5 years old and I went with my dad or something like that. But yeah, as an adult, I imagine that was pretty goddamn fun.
Oh, yeah, it was very fun. There's a story that I will tell at the end of the stream because it's hilarious.
Okay.
It is very hilarious, but it was probably the most adult orientated event that I've actually done for myself. I decided one day, I spoke when I was working for my old boss. He had just given me my camera, and he's like, "Here, go take a vacation, go have a trip. We'll pay for your trip. Just go have fun." So me and a buddy of mine, we took off to Japan, and we spent 2 weeks over there.
Mm.
We went from Osaka to Tokyo, and flew back straight to the States afterwards, and it was the most interesting experience I've ever had. I do
Fucking
mean
bet.
interesting with an asterisk because there's more to that context.
Well, we'll make sure we get to that story for sure. Why did you choose Japan though? I'm curious.
I've just always wanted to go. It's been one of the things that I've been needing to do for the longest time for whatever reason. I can't remember the specifics why I've always wanted to go. I've been really interested in Eastern culture for a long time.
Yeah.
Everything from Middle Eastern to Chinese to Taiwanese to Filipino, Korean, and Japanese. It's always interested me because their culture is significantly older than most of the West, and
Absolutely.
there's a lot of bloodshed, and it's always interested in me. And part of what I do for fun and for somewhat of a career is deeply rooted into Japanese culture. So it's just one of those things that has kind of always fit, and it's just I really can't remember exactly why it started. It wasn't anime because like I didn't really get into anime until I was like maybe 11.
Yeah, a lot of people I think are super into Japanese culture, like largely because of anime or manga or things like that. Mine, I fell in love with the culture mostly because of their live action stuff, their live action movies. Japan extreme cinema, their horror movies are incredible, things like that. I actually started trying to learn Japanese just so I could watch Japanese movies without having to bother with subtitles. But I'd always have people be like, "Oh, it's because you like anime." No, 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 no.
Have you like yes, when you sit them down, have you seen their horror films? They're fucked up. There's
Yeah.
one called Three Dumplings where it's a dude that yeah, you've probably seen this one.
Oh, I've seen it.
For those that haven't, basically it's this really because there's three dumplings and then there's a Korean version where there's like it's a noodle shop. It's the
Mm.
same premise, essentially same story, but somebody breaks into this dumplings shop and the dude murders the entire family, grinds them up, makes them into dumplings, and starts selling them to the people. And then he runs out of that meat and starts killing people throughout and starts selling it. And then he gets caught and killed, and they do the same thing to him. And it's fucking ghastly. It's because they show you everything they do, him cranking down meat and everything. It's
Yep.
their
It is a
horror
very
films were something
explicit,
else.
explicit
Yes.
fucking movie. Yeah, I mean, the one of the masters of Japanese cinema, Takashi Miike, who
Yep.
is ethnically, I think, Mongolian. Uh, Ethnically Mongolian, but he's a Japanese citizen, and he's an incredible filmmaker. When I find somebody who's an enthusiast of like extreme cinema, put him through the paces, various different movies, see if they can handle it, see if they can handle that. And then I always culminate with Visitor Q, just to see if they can really handle Visitor Q, because that's a hell of a movie.
Yeah, that one's a very special movie. I think if I'm putting somebody through the ringer and just to see if they can deal with anything like that, I will have them I'll have them watch Audition first.
Yep.
The Audition first, because it starts off very bland and mild, then it gets weird, and then it gets psychological. Then you just start seeing all the gore, and you can actually see this happen IRL, because there are people that are that crazy in love with someone that they will murder them or maim them. I also have another story for that one, but we'll get to that. That one's a little bit more. I have a wound on the side of my neck to prove that people are fucking crazy, especially lovers, ex-lovers.
I know that one.
But yeah, oh boy, I think I actually did tell you that one. Shit. Oh boy. But,
I think you only briefly touched on it a little bit.
Yes, I gave you the Cliff Notes version of that one. But then afterwards, it's like Ichi the Killer or something even more grotesque than that one. And then you get into the very campy B-style Japanese horror films where it's like Tokyo Gore Police and all that. They're just really out there.
Oh yes! Oh my God! Tokyo Gore Police is magnificent.
It really is.
Yeah, it's a special movie. So many of these are incredible because you can't do movies like that in the States. Not really. You can really push the boundaries of shit sometimes with American cinema, but it feels like there's always this buffer. There's always just this like invisible wall that American cinema never really goes past, except in the most rare circumstances. Whereas Japanese and some others like Chinese movies will take a giant shit on that line and go traipsing right across it, you know. So
yep, that fine line, that edge of moralities and everything. Whew, gone.
Oh yeah, like you're never gonna get an American version of a Lars von Trier horror movie. That's for fucking sure. That's never gonna fucking.
No, you won't even get an American version of the Marquis de Sade.
Nope,
like,
they sure won't.
Nope, you won't see it.
Yeah, I don't think Quills was actually.
Although Geoffrey Rush did star in that.
Oh, he's incredible. Yeah, but I don't think that was an American film.
That was a French. That was a French. It was the trial. It was a Trials and Persecutions of Jean Paul Marat, as told by the Marquis de Sade.
Okay.
And they actually showed Geoffrey Rush completely butt-ass fucking naked in that one. It's hilarious.
Well, he did. Was that the same? Was that like the original name of the movie Quills? Because Geoffrey Rush plays Marquis de Sade in that one.
Yeah, probably. It's probably the original name because I'm referencing the play where that is based off of. Right, so Quills is the exact movie.
Yeah. That was an interesting movie. That's probably one of my favorites from Geoffrey Rush too. Like the man is a brave, bold actor. Anyone who does like a full nude scene in any movie just for the sake of the artistry of it, like respect.
Yeah, you have to give respect where respect is given, and there are certain people that can do it. That just like, hey, this is art. This is what I'm doing. Let's go.
You know, it's not the only time he's ever done fully nude in a movie either. He did a movie called Shine, which is the real story of this brilliant composer who had a mental breakdown when he was young and ended up in a mental institution. And there's one scene where he's naked except for an overcoat, jumping on a trampoline, laughing hysterically. It's quite the scene.
I'm gonna have to go watch it now.
It's a brilliant film, though. Oh my god, it's just an absolutely brilliant film of genius being pushed to the limit and finally breaking, and then like a kind of almost a weird redemption arc to it near the end, and it's a brilliant film. Yeah,
certainly have to watch it now. Well, watch it. Gotta love Plex.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So so what is it that you do? Let's try segueing into it like this. So what is it that you do as a career? Sort of.
Well, I can give you two different instances. So I own a photo studio with 3 of my colleagues. We're all co-owners of this studio in San Antonio, and it's also a rope dojo. So that is, while it doesn't make any money, this is more of a pet project for us. We enjoy taking photos, tying up people, and all that fun shit. That can be classified as one of my professions.
Right.
But what pays the bills is insurance.
That's fair. But it seems like the rope dojo, the what's it called in fucking Japan? Shit. Shabari, that's what it is. Shabari. From like many of our conversations and our interactions and whatnot, it seems like that's kind of like that's a type of artistic expression that means a lot to you.
It really is. It's one of the things that has kind of kept me relatively grounded as far as my life, my I guess sexuality would be the better way of putting it.
It seems like it seems like too dismissive of a term to really explain, because this seems to go a little bit like beyond just something like a sexuality. This is like
it's a lifestyle. It is certainly a lifestyle, and it's one that I've been embracing for pretty much the better half of my life. You always kind of figure that because everybody that I've talked to that has gone into kink or gone into doing shibari or gone into doing various facets of what kink is or fetish lifestyle is, they've always had this one thing. Well, I've always known something was kind of a little different as far as either the bedroom or just in general. Like, there are certain pictures that they'll like that are like, I can't show this to my family because I will be ostracized, blah, 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 yada, yada. And so for the better half of my life, I knew that there was something a bit different. I didn't have a word for it. I didn't have a specific term that I could ground myself on. And then just one day I was reading on, ironically enough, 120 Days in Sodom, and just clicked. Oh, I enjoy all of these things. And then as I grew up and grew into it, it morphed and evolved into me doing a lot more very rope-centric things. Granted, that's not all I do. It's just one of the bigger things that I'm known for as far as the local community here in San Antonio.
Absolutely.
And Japan.
The kink scene. Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, it's Japan. I've done things in Japan. I've done things in Austin, Colorado, California, Dallas. I've been around. Yeah,
absolutely. The kink community gets they get an unfair stigma on them quite a bit. I don't know if I'd say I necessarily got too in depth into like the subculture of it. More as like kind of like a passer in and out of it. Lots of friends who were members of it who were very heavy into like either BDSM or scenesters. I knew a couple of rope artists as well. Largely because I did circus performance acts and fire dancing and things like that, and we would very commonly perform side by side in these crazy events, you know. So I've seen some of it up close, and it's amazing, but I think it is kind of unfairly stigmatized in society.
It is. I mean, I was having this conversation with my old man a while back, and you find out that people are a lot more kinky than they lead on. Like he's a very old school Hispanic man. He believes in God and everything, but he doesn't want to tell you that he likes just a little bit more than slap and tickle in the bedroom. So I had it one day when we were on the road going to see my grandfather to make sure he was doing semi-okay because he has dementia, and it's late stages and it's already degrading his mental capacity. So we were driving and I had to coax it out of him. I was like, okay, be honest with me. You've done, I know you've done X, Y, and Z, because there's no way you haven't, considering how you've lived your life up until now. He was like, well, I mean, there was this one time. Explain this place. Like, I called it. So technically it's genetic at this point.
It might be. I think I try and think about sometimes what it is that causes people to have such repression when it comes to certain aspects like that. I mean, there's so many interesting ways to express yourself, and sexuality is a huge part of the human experience. Um, I wonder sometimes if it's like, is it more like religious indoctrination based, a sense of shame that keeps people from, exploring and discovering these things, or is it just really something that some people just really aren't into? And I don't know. Hmm.
A lot of it, and it's a combination of all of the above, to be honest, because you'll have different walks of life. I know people that got into it when they turned 50. They've been married for a decent amount of time. They've had 2 kids, and it was one of the things that saved their marriage because they were looking for that one thing that they were missing. And you see that a common trend with the like, I want to say that the older crowd, but they consider themselves older guard because they come from they learn a different school of study of kink than most people, and then they try passing off that knowledge to the people that are between your age, my age, and then the ones that are 18 that just became adults and are going into it.
Right.
Then you have people that are they're dating their boyfriend and girlfriend, and they're looking for something a little bit more, something to spice up their life. Or you have people that are like me that don't really get the same sexual gratification that most people do, or in my case, at all. I don't get any sexual gratification. I have a medical condition that doesn't allow me to. So this is one of those things that is the only way for me to get any sort of enjoyment out of life, and it transitioned into it. There's also a nice little talk with my therapist when I was a kid that they stamped me with a specific little title of a personality disorder, and it kind of makes a lot of sense now.
Oh yeah.
Because they used to have a term called sadist personality disorder.
Mhm.
It's not in the new 2 books. I actually got labeled that as a sadist when I was
No
a wee
shit.
kid. Yeah, it was one of the things because I had major rage issues when I was a kid, and the idea of and the easiest way for me to explain it to people is if somebody's walking, doesn't matter if it's somebody that is in their 70s or 80s or someone that's a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and they fall and break their nose, that's going to trigger something for me. That's going to make me grin. I'm going to smile. I'm going to get something from that, which is really fucked up. It really is. And keeping that in check is what kink is also for me. It's
I don't know if it's necessarily like I don't think it's necessarily fucked up. It's more like maybe it's like a hypercharged sensation that other people usually do have, but they suppress it. Like you look at fail
probably
videos, you watch somebody fall and bust their shit, and you get a good laugh out of it. But I mean, you kind of get a good laugh out of it, but you hold back, and you have like a certain empathetic response to it. Maybe it's just like more severe in your case. I don't know,
more than likely.
I personally do not have a whole lot of faith in certain psychological diagnoses. I had my own
It's
issues
it
with that.
it's okay. It's all right. Trust me. I don't either, but it's just one of those funny little things that I've had for a while that it's one of those little nice little anecdotes that tell people, oh, by the way, this is exactly who I am. I come with a wonderful disclaimer. You need to be this much of a masochist to ride this ride, and if you're not, the door's right there. Please, by all means, you don't have to play with me. I'm very mean. I am very interesting as far as what playing with me is concerned.
So I guess a lot of that might come. Well, are you comfortable talking about the medical issue?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
So
if it's a core part of like how this developed for you, like I'm very curious.
the thing that I was diagnosed with was ejaculatory anhedonia.
Mhm.
So it's the male equivalent of sexual anhedonia for women. Very few men have it. It's the inability to achieve orgasm. Ever. I've never had an orgasm. I've never experienced it. I've had sex, but it's very.
Right.
It's one of those feelings I can never go, oh, you're missing out. I don't know I am. I don't know. It's
does like when you are engaged in like sex and like direct, you know, stimulation in the manner that most people are having sex, is there a feeling of like sexual acceleration, or is that just completely like gone?
Mm, it's pretty much gone. It's more of the thing like I'm doing this for my partner. That's exactly what it is. It's no longer the only way for me to get some sort of enjoyment. I have to either be in pain. I do mean a lot of pain, or I have to be inflicting a lot of pain in order for me to even be focused on this specific act,
Right.
which has ended a few of my relationships. There's that I never thought in my life I would hear, am I not good enough for you? It's like, I don't get that. Are you enjoying this? I am, but are you? Eh?
Right. Right. And it's something
So
that's like quite literally beyond your control.
yes, there's only, I think, one treatment for it, and it is they attach an E-stem unit to your spinal column.
What the fuck?
Yep. At the time that I checked, it was a $10,000 surgery. They attached this wonderful little thin electrode, and you keep the nice little device on the side, on your side, and you can increase the voltage, so it shocks your fucking nervous system. It is pretty gnarly, and that is one of the only real kind of cures. I want to say that very loosely, because with most things, your body gets used to it. Your body will adapt to it. And you need to start increasing that dial a lot more in order for things to work. And you also run the risk of frying your nerves. If the surgery goes wrong, you risk losing a lot more of your nervous system your nervous system capacity. So you may actually go completely numb and entirely, or you might get overstimulated and something might burn out. So that there's a lot of weird little problems that can happen with it. Granted, I also don't have 10 grand to try this out.
Right, of course.
So
to get an orgasm
it's
button.
one of those things where, yeah, an orgasm button. Well, even then, will it work? Will I know it works? Will things work properly? Or am I just going to be sitting there shocking myself going, oh, that's nice?
Get a taser.
Get it that's right there. It's right in the heart. I mean, maybe that will enjoy. I gotta contact my partner. I wonder if she's watching right now. Hey, by the way, grab a taser if you're watching. And next time, sweetheart, let's balls to the wall. Tase me on the side of the neck. We're good.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, maybe the chode.
There you go.
I've
there.
I've been tased in the chode.
Ouch.
It didn't feel very good. Yeah,
I don't think it would. It's one of those pains that you just don't really know how to process, and you're like, oh my god, I never want to experience this again.
Well, the reason why it ended up being such a weird moment was because I had a taser. And what do you do when you have a taser and it's not like for self-defense or anything? You just start like tasing each other, tasing yourself to see what it's like. And somebody knew that I had at the time, because I lost it. I don't know how I did this, but I had my Geisha Pierce for a long time. And so they were like, I wonder if we could tase your Geisha ring. Well, no, I'm sure, as you know, surgical steel is not really very conductive. Not really.
It's not very conductive at all. I've tried with other forms of electrical play, and it's not very conductive, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, it is probably definitely a good thing. You know, you don't want your shit to catch on fire if you're around like a really significant electromagnetic wave or something. So instead, just, you know, right up against the gooch real hard too, and whoo, man, I levitated. Whoo.
I think the only time I've levitated is when I've been hanging from hook suspension. That's the only time I've levitated.
So you've ever been shocked by the gooch.
Yep.
Cool. Right on.
I've done a number of them.
Have you done like a different variety of them?
Yes, I've done the Resurrection, which is the 6 hooks that are right here on the chest. That was my first one. I probably shouldn't have chosen that one as my first one, but oh my god, was I higher than a kite. Oh shit. I've done the one's on the back where I've done 4, 2, I think 6 just from the back. I've also done the cradle, which is the 4 on your knees and then 2 on your back. And I've done the lotus, which is 2 on your back and then all on your inner thigh and then calf. That one's a special kind of suck, especially when they pierce right on your inner thigh. Jesus. Whew. That was... That's the special kind of pain that I need to experience again.
Oh man, I had a buddy of mine who was a very huge suspension enthusiast. And he said the one that sucked the worst was he did just he'd done them all over, but he did his pecs once.
Oh boy,
old school. What is it called? The Sundance style.
Sundance suspension.
Yeah, Sundance suspension. And he said that one was the worst. Partly because he was in just one of those moods that night where he wanted to go as far as possible. So the artist who put them in and then had him suspended, the artist grabbed a footstool and he was about 250 pounds and he jumped and grabbed him and swung on him. And yeah.
Ooh. I think the only time I've had anybody hang off of me is for a performance. We were doing something in Halloween at a bar, and I was the main performance because I had done hook suspensions before. I know how to handle them, and I can put on a show when I need to. I mean, why not? I'm just a showy motherfucker, considering all the ink and the long hair, the beard, what have you. So they throw a couple hooks in my back, and I'm swinging. The dude that did the hooks, he's like, "Hey, pick a random person, pick them up, spin around with them, have some fun with it." I'm like, "All right, cool." And I just point at a girl, and she's in this really adorable pirate costume, and I call her over and like, "Hey, would you like to be picked up?" And she's like, sure. I'm like, all right, well, how much, I'm going to ask this, how much do you weigh, just to kind of make sure that these don't tear, because that'd be really interesting to have me just like dangling from one fucking hook while I'm trying to hold on to you.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay, well, I weigh $135. I'm like, all right, nah, that's easy. Even if you were like 150, 160, it's fine, whatever. So I pick her up, and I'm like, you're not 135, you're 175, which I'm already committed at this point. I already have her in the air. I'm like, this is going to hurt. Screw it. So I pick her up and I kick off one of the punching bags that they have at the automated punching bag where it comes down and you just knock it to see how strong you are. Right. So I kick off one of those things and I start spinning with this girl, and instantly I feel it. I'm like, oh, this is gonna hurt.
Oh no.
Okay, it didn't tear all the way. Okay, I think I'm good.
Ooh.
So we keep spinning for another like 4 or 5 minutes, and I place her down, and I call the dude over. I'm like, hey, check the hooks real quickly. And he's like, oh, yeah, one of them's slightly torn. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I think I got maybe another 30, 45 minutes before I need to come down. He's like, okay. So just go balls to the wall. So I kick off the wall, kick off everything, and just start spinning and spinning and spinning. And after 30 minutes, drop down. I'm like, okay, we're done. So they have to actually push the air out after you're done doing hook suspensions from your back. If not, you're going to get these weird pains, and they're just fucking awful.
Yeah, I think the kids around here, they called it the Rice Krispies.
Something similar, yeah.
Little pockets feel like at Rice Krispies, and you have to like push the air out from like between the dermal layers and shit. And oh my god, that's some wild shit, man. It's wild. I never got around to doing suspensions myself, but it's a hell of a thing to see.
It's fun. I even when the local dungeon down here was still open, I even did a self hook suspension, which you're normally not supposed to do because you typically want a spotter. You want somebody to do the piercing, and then you want somebody to pick you up, and then it's yourself. So at minimum, you want 2 other people with yourself. I decided, fuck it. I bought some hooks. I got my needles. I was like, fuck it. Did 2 in each knee, and the dungeon had an automatic hoist. It's a hoist or a winch. Which one's the one that just goes horizontal? It's the winch.
That's a hoist, I think.
It's a hoist.
Maybe that's a winch. I can't remember.
Either way, So I didn't need the person lifting me up. So I got my rigging plate that I use for all of my rope stuff, set it up, put all the paracord up, and lift myself up. And I'm like, all right, guys, move the table. And they move the table, and I start swinging and everything. And that was fun. But yeah, no, like body modification was one of my all-time favorite things to do aside from Shibari and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I was into it for a really long time, but yeah, when I ended up becoming like a homebody thing, like it just very slowly, things just started falling off of me. They just started falling off of me, and now I don't actually have any piercings in my body right now.
Fair enough. I've actually gotten rid of a lot of my piercings. I think I have my septum, my medusa, my labret, my tongue, my conch, my nips, and then the Prince Albert that I have. And even then, the ones in my face are going to go because I'm supposed to be moving to Japan in October.
Why take them out then if you're going to Japan?
Because they have this really weird stigma about people with piercings, and I'm supposed to be going to school and doing like the professional life over there.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
I have to be kind of clean cut, kind of. I can get away with a beard. If you're a gaijin, you're pretty much okay with having facial hair and semi-long hair.
Right.
But the tattoos are going to be covered up. Granted, this arm specifically needs to be covered up because, yeah, over in Japan, I already got that really shifty-eyed look from another tattooed individual or tattooed native over there. Oh boy, that was a special day.
Did you run into like a Yakuza or some shit?
Yep.
Fair enough. We'll get to that story. What about your gauges? What are you gonna do about the gauges?
They'll close pretty much.
They're not that big.
Well, they were. I think this one was at 1/2 inch, and this one was just, yeah. And I've had them for a while, so they'll either close or there'll be the gap. And I haven't had a gauge in like almost 4 months, and it's still about decent size.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's not as bad. I mean, I know people with like giant fuck off gauges and shit like that, and those aren't going to shrink, you know. But
no, they're not. I tried doing that, and I blew out most of my lobe on
Oof.
the left side of my ear, and it was bad. Never again will I go that far.
God damn. At least it didn't tear all the way.
It almost did. It blew the back portion of the ear off to where the most of it was all blood and scab and just extra skin. So when it finally closed, it healed it somehow healed properly, and it took me 4 years to get the scar down enough to where my piercer would have been like, okay, now I'll give you another piercing. You've learned your lesson, you moron.
Yeah. God damn. Yeah. Okay. So, let's see. I wrote down some of these other ones. Let's see. Like passions in life, things that. Well, obviously, we did touch on some things that are like core aspects of your personality and convictions. At least some of them, but I'm sure there's a lot more than just that. I mean,
a lot more than just. Okay. A lot more than just like rope and tying up pretty people. I'm pretty sure there is. Photography is a really big part of my life. I've done a lot of, I would say a lot. I mean, I've done a fair amount of photography for myself for personal use and all that. Sold some of my photos, which was a big, like, my God, I actually can sell this shit. Other people like it, other than just me. Well, that's nice.
That's a good feeling,
it really, really was. It was like, Jesus Christ. So one of my favorite photos that I've ever done is actually up in a dungeon. I think it's either in Philadelphia or in Portland. One of the two. It's one of the two that starts with a P. It's actually up in a local dungeon over there, which I'm very proud of. Like one of my pieces of art is in a dungeon that's very predominant, so it's gonna be there until the fucking place closed down, which is nice.
That's cool.
food, cooking specifically is another big thing that I really do enjoy. Other than that, I'm pretty much a rather simplistic individual. Video games I do just because, well, I grew up with a controller in my fucking hand.
Oh
And
yeah. What was your
even
first
though
gaming system?
First gaming system was the Super NES, because I am a 90s kid. My parents still had the original Nintendo, and they also had the original Atari, so I got to play on all of those. Then eventually I got a Sega, then a Sega Saturn, and then I became a Sony kid when PlayStation came out.
Yep. Oh yeah. And still are, aren't you?
Yep. Really big into Sony. Granted,
we're supposed to be playing Monster Hunter World now for like the past few weeks.
We were supposed to be, but you've been busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of in my own weird ass way that I am busy all the time.
You're a YouTube personality, man. I'm sure there's a husband and a father, so there's a lot more things you need to do with your life than play video games with essentially well, I'm no longer a rando person that you met through the internet, and I liked your videos.
Yeah, I have this really strange like self-care is a really big thing. I think if for anybody, self-care is absolutely paramount. Making sure you do those things to keep yourself grounded, keep yourself equalized, whatever it is that form has to take. And for me, usually hanging out and unplugging from things, even if it's plugging in like a controller and doing that, is a good amount of self-care. So I take the time to do self-care, but I have this really self-destructive habit where, and I think I've told you this before, I'll sit down and I can literally do anything that I want. I could go and I could talk to people. I could go and play games with people. But instead, I have this tendency to just kind of sit and like I just stare off into the distance. And like the worse the video project I'm doing is, like the more fucked up it is, the longer I do that for. It's really, really weird. So I actually really have no excuse. I should be doing more self-care, and I should be playing Monster Hunter with you and Decidious.
Yeah. Decidious, yes, I added him, and we all need to jump on Monster Hunter. Granted, I've been playing that game like it's a bloody addiction. I'm almost at 400 hours in that fucking game.
You guys are gonna have to babysit
since it's
me.
come out.
You're gonna have to babysit me. I'm so low. I'm so.
Oh, I don't mind. I have a buddy of mine that I help out, and he's a really good friend. He's the one that went to Japan with me. And I play the game with him, and he's a significantly lower rank than I am, but I have the most fun helping people out because I've played this game since PlayStation when it came out, and it was this little like indie title from Capcom, but it blew up in Japan, and it's just a very fun game to me. And it's the equivalent of me playing Mortal Kombat. Like fighting games and Monster Hunter have been my thing since I can fucking remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm into it. I need to make it a point. You know, I'll have to like write myself a fucking sticky note and set it on my monitor. Like, don't mope, play Monster Hunter. That's what
Don't mope, play Monster Hunter. That's a good thing. I should probably do similar things and put sticky notes places because when I get bored, I get myself into trouble. That's
like what?
Like what? I mean, there's this running thing with me, and I think I've told you, I've told Berserk, because I started talking to Berserk a lot more, and he's a really great guy in the Patreon everything, and the Patreon Discord, and like when I get bored, I end up playing once a month. There's this event called Temple of Flesh in San Antonio, and I've been trying to kind of get back into the whole kink scene because I think like we had discussed off panel a couple weeks ago, came out of a really, really bad relationship, and I just fell ill really bad, and I was trying to get everything squared away, and then I got into an accident and broke a couple ribs, so I couldn't do anything as far as kink was concerned. But ever since I got better, I didn't really get better. I just started playing and suspending people when I shouldn't have been lifting a fucking thing. I will have like 3 or 4 people go up to me and be like, "Hey, let's do something. Let's have a scene. You want to tie me tonight? You want to do something tonight?" I'm like, "Sure, why not? My schedule's open technically, even though I have 2 other scenes planned. One of them with my primary partner, and then one with another partner." Yeah, I'm a little bit of a play whore. Is the easiest way for me to say that. Hence why I try not to get bored so damn much, because I'll end up digging myself into a hole where I'll play all of these other people and like not play the people that I'm supposed to be. That I'm supposed to be in a little bit. Yeah. This is why I try keeping myself busy.
That's probably a good thing. You know, I gotta say though, I can't have that much sympathy for your problems in that regard, there, man.
Don't. It's my own doing. It's my own doing. I don't expect anybody to have sympathy for me. I don't even have sympathy for myself.
I get bored and these hot people want to tie me up and do all sorts of raunchy things to me. Fuck
my life, right? And I like how you explain it, people, because I do both I guess technically 3 sides, because if you consider trans, as well. I mean, like I play with men, I play with women, I play with trans. It makes that fucking difference to me. If I can make you squeal and hurt, it's all good. It's all good in my book, which has gotten me into a lot more trouble than I like to admit.
An equal opportunity abuser.
Equal opportunity sadist.
Yep, there you go. Good shit. Oh man, that's some funny ass shit.
It really is. It really is. So I tell people not to feel sorry for me, because I don't even feel sorry for myself. Mm-hmm. And one of my partners, she busts my balls the entire time. So we have this kind of relationship where she will notice that other girls are trying to like be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, are you interested?" And she's like, "No, he's not." And she's just like stabbing all that shit down. Like, you don't need any more people in your life. You already have a big enough fucking ego. You hardly can walk out the door. So she'll bust my balls the entire time. So one of the bigger conventions that came through San Antonio is called Ropecraft. Okay. I had a great time. Played with 3 people that I've never met, because that's what happens at conventions like that occasionally, unless you have. There's a lot of very strict rules that you need to adhere to. Obviously, don't touch what's not yours. No is no. Very stringent rules that are very easy to stick to. Right. Had a great time, and there was, according to her, there was this little girl that was following me this entire fucking time, and I didn't. I'm as dense as they come. And she's like, "No, I mean, you had your groupies all fucking day. Just remember that you're still a piece of shit." I'm like, "Oh, God damn it." Thanks, sweetheart. Thank you. I adore you immensely. Just, you want to bust my balls a little more? No, it's okay. I'll step on them later. I'm like, "Oh my God."
I too suffer from being extremely dense at times for that, specifically. I don't pay any damn attention to it. I really don't.
I don't either. I don't. It's just funny because when people are like, "Hey, by the way, I'm interested in you. I'd like to see where things go." I'm like, "Really?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Like, do you need therapy?" Granted, that's just the insecurity. It's just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I had to. That's probably one of the reasons why, for a long time in my life, I was a serial monogamist. I only long-running relationships, and not really the best people that I should have been dating. Kind of, I had a tendency to date abusive people, but it was because they were the ones who would come up and beat it over my head like, "I like you, you're coming home with me," because otherwise I wouldn't pay any attention to it. It took a long time to get out of that.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of abusive relationships. Those are special times. One of them, my longest standing relationship of 3.5 years, stabbed me in the fucking neck with a pair of scissors because I went to a strip club before I dated her. That was
so before you guys were even together.
Yep.
And she got mad about that. And how far into the relationship was it that she found this out?
About 2 years.
Yeah, and she
And
gets mad.
the only reason I went to the strip club is because one of my friends was a stripper, and I had to go pick her drunk and coked up ass up from this club every single goddamn night. It was
Right.
annoying. At the
Yeah.
time, the bouncers knew me, the bartenders knew me, so I was there at 17, just sitting at a bar, drinking water, waiting for this drunk fucking stripper to get her fucking heels up and come along.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I just stabbed you in the fucking neck for that. That's fucking
Yep.
wild.
2 millimeters closer to my jugular, I would have been done.
Yeah, in a real bad fucking way for sure, if not canceled. Goddamn. Yeah, that sounds like a crazy bitch, man. That sounds pretty.
Oh boy, that's only the tip of the iceberg, because I still stayed with her after that. Remember, it was a 3.5-year relationship. That was at year 2.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend who she was a drinker and she had a tendency to black out and beat the shit out of me. I actually almost went blind in this eye because she got me on the ground and kicked me in the face with steel-toed boots and almost collapsed my my orbit, my socket.
Fuck.
Bad. Yeah, it was bad. That was pretty bad. It wasn't a stabbing though. Ugh.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love blood play as far as kink is concerned. I love it in a controlled environment. One of my more memorable scenes is when I was a bottom and my top decided that she was trained, mind you, she was a trained fucking nurse, and she shoved fucking IVs in my arm and let me bleed, like bloodletting for 2 minutes, just and collected all the blood, bandaged me up, and then dumped like all this blood on top of me. I was like, my fucking God, this is goddamn hot. I never thought in my life I'd ever see fucking blood shoot out from my neck and just drench this entire side of my body, and me go, I'm actually gonna fucking die. What the hell?
Holy shit. Oof. God damn. That'd probably be a line crosser for me.
I thought it would have been for me at the same time too, but apparently I was really invested in this relationship, and I look back at it now and I can joke about it, I can poke fun at it and all that, but holy fuck, was I really invested for some fucking reason, and I will never know why, ever.
No.
But then again, like the same could be said for my most recent breakup. I was thoroughly invested. I think I actually had told you that I was planning on moving to Oregon eventually, like in the next couple of years from that time frame, and then all of a sudden just fucking ghosted. And that one, for some reason, that one put me in the hospital as opposed to the other one.
Next stabbing.
Well, I drove myself to the hospital after the stabbing, and the wound had closed up, so they couldn't really put stitches in it. So like, yeah, you waited too long. Like, we're surprised you're not on the floor, like passed out from blood loss.
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky. Apparently not. I'm like, all of this just read, but the more recent one, yeah, just taking my roommate's fucking Nissan Titan, that big fucking piece of shit goddamn car, and driving from where I was to the medical district, which is not that close, and walking into this hospital completely drenched in blood. They're like, were you in a gang fight? No. Girlfriend. Yeah. And instantly it's like, what did you do? Do you want to hear the story? So I tell them the story, like, are you fucking serious? Like, all of them are like, are you fucking kidding me? And you didn't call 911? She broke my phone. What? So she tried making sure you didn't go to the hospital. Yep.
So why did this most recent one put you in the hospital?
Let's see. So a lot of the issues with that relationship it stemmed from in certain portions of kink, there are, I guess, like families, if you will, people that you've gravitated to and you've built more of a familial type of relationship with, and all that fun jazz. Like right now, I'm part of a rope family who also I'm co-owners with the studio. We're all great. We love each other to death, and they're fucking hilarious. Actually, the couple is in Amsterdam right now having a blast, just getting completely fucking shit-faced. But I was involved with another group of individuals, and when I started dating her, things started going a bit south, and that caused a rift. I ended up moving out of that household, and me and my girlfriend at the time moved in together, and I started going down this trend where I was isolating myself because I couldn't really do anything. She was still friends with them, working with them, and it bothered me, but at the same time I was like, there's not much I can do. I'm not going to dictate who you can and cannot hang out with. I don't have to like it,
Right?
but it's what the fuck ever. We had our arguments and things were pretty much peachy keen, and then what started happening is like I've said earlier in this stream, I have more than one play partner. I play with a select group of people, and that's typically who I stay with because it's a lot easier for me to go, okay, y'all are who I need to pay attention to, y'all are in my life, and y'all are who I want to play with. Well, one incident happened, and I couldn't play somebody that I really cared for. Like, this is one of the owners of the studio with me, and I couldn't play with her because she had an issue with it for some reason. Wouldn't tell me, just had a fucking issue with it.
Right.
So I stopped going out, and I'm a relatively social individual. My roommates will tell you I'm probably the social butterfly of this household right here. And again, my partners will tell you that I pretty much attract people like a moth to a flame. So me not going out, me not having fun, me not being able to do what I normally did really took a toll on me. And it came to a point where one day everything just ended. Everything. And couldn't figure out why for the life of me. Still don't know why the relationship ended to this day. Will never be told, never have anything. And that fucked me up the most, not knowing what I did wrong. Because I can't fix what I don't know what I did wrong at all.
Right.
I can't adjust, I can't grow from the experience. And I stopped eating, and previous eating disorders aside got worse. Developed bulimia as well. So and every time I tried eating, I'd throw up.
Right.
I am an insomniac, so I don't sleep naturally. And if I stay up longer than 4 days, I will hallucinate.
Yep.
It's not good to hallucinate from anything else other than mushrooms or LSD, because hallucinations when you're completely sleep deprived are far more real to you mentally than, oh, I took some acid. Oh, the wall's breathing and it's changing pretty. No, this is like people are trying to kill you, major paranoia. You just go fucking ape shit. So that all just happened all at once. So I drove myself to the hospital and admitted myself, and somehow managed to get out of the mandatory, we're going to have you sit down with one of our therapists right now to make sure that you don't have to be committed because you have not been sleeping, you have not been eating, you look like death. You look like you'll heal over in the next day or two if you don't do anything. So I sat there, talked with them for about 6 hours, and they gave me some medication to help me sleep. And then ever since then, I was trying to get better. That happened all in September of last year, which was, there were a lot of people that were really, really angry that they saw me like that.
It's a rough one, man. It's really rough.
It was, and
yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you on sleep hallucinations. I was strung out for about 1.5 years on legal speed, ephedrine pills, and there's nothing more terrifying than when you start like really, really hallucinating from sleep loss. Holy shit! Fuck. And doing that while going through a breakup.
Yeah, no, it was fucking disgusting. I think at one point because I have some issues with my liver, and it looked like I had developed jaundice in a short amount of fucking time. Yellowing and kind of greenish skin, severe like dark circles under the eyes. Like even with this beard, you would see the indentation in my jawline. You'd see the bones in my hands. If I lifted up my shirt, you'd see nothing but ribs and sternum. It was bad.
Oof. Well, I'm glad you got better after that. I'm sure it's still a process, but you know.
It's a process. Like still trying to remember to eat is one of those things that you don't really kind of get better from. I mean, like I said, I still don't really eat like I should. I should be eating at least maybe one meal a day at most, or at least. Sorry.
At least, right.
At least. At most. When I'm really trying to kill myself over here, apparently. Or at least have one of my partners strangle me if they're hearing this. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah, no, she'd strangle me, and not in the fun way.
It does sound like you have a really good support structure of people who are actively trying to like urge you to pursue getting healthy about it, though. You know, because as we were talking, you were saying like, you know, these are people who are aggressively trying to get you to eat more often, which is great.
Yeah, it is great. They're also trying to help me with the drinking habit that I've culminated over the years because, well, there's something to be said when you can throw back a 3/4 a bottle of whiskey, 3/4 a bottle of rum and half a bottle of whiskey and still be coherent.
Yeah. I've been thinking about experimenting with kratom a little bit to like replace some of my nights where I'm going to be drinking by like just testing it out. And some people say it really does help with some of the cravings and addictions. I mean, I don't feel like I'm necessarily addicted to alcohol on like a physical dependency, but there is definitely a psychological impulse for me to drink like a lot. It's very psychological for me.
I can certainly attest to that. Like, I believe that at one point there wasn't a day that I didn't have at least maybe a glass or two. And there's always the argument, who is the alcoholic? The person that buys a 6-pack of beer every day and just drinks that 6-pack every day, or the person that drinks once every weekend? The answer is they're both alcoholic because they're both doing the exact same thing over and over again, like clockwork.
Right. Because of repetition. It's not really about the amount. It's about, you know.
It's about the fact that you're doing it every single time like clockwork.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It would be nice. You know what I wish I wasn't allergic to weed. Because then that I'd at least have.
You're allergic to marijuana too.
Yeah. I think we've talked about this before.
Yep, that is right. Thank God I'm not the only fucking one.
It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Well, one of my partners, her biggest thing was like, I really want to smoke with you, but you're allergic. Like, yeah, I mean, if you have an EpiPen, sure, why not just stab me in the fucking heart and we can go toe to toe. You just need to stab me in the heart again after we're done because it's still in my fucking system.
Right. Yeah. No, my allergy to THC is what compelled me to take so much acid a few years now. It was way before we had the kid. But I was constantly around, you know, weed growers and everybody's a pothead in this fucking town. And I felt so fucking left out. And I just happened to have a constant supply of LSD and mushrooms. So as casually as everybody would smoke weed here in Eugene, I would eat hallucinogens. I did that daily. I would acid one day, shrooms the next, then back to acid, then shrooms, then acid, then shrooms. For about a year and a half, you know. That wasn't good.
Man, that sounds like my life. That sounds like my life when I was fucking Jesus Christ. Mine was a mixture of ecstasy, acid, whenever we can get it, because at the time the whole acid thing was still relatively newish to Texas. Mushrooms are aplenty because almost everybody and their mother has a fucking farm on the outskirts of Texas.
Yep.
And then mescaline was the other. Oh boy, those were some interesting times. There's nothing like taking something, and I think Fear and Loathing Las Vegas is the one that like really imprinted that joke. If only they could make it less pure, because it feels like if you ingest it, it feels like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was Mr. Universe builder was sucker punching you at least 17 times in the gut. That's the only way I can explain it.
Yep.
Now, if you
if
you pulled it out of its capsule and snorted the shit, it felt like someone grabbed a very hot coal and shoved it in your fucking nose and just left it there.
That's why back in the day, if you were going to be snorting mescaline, man, you just cut it with a little coke.
numb the area first before you fucking do it.
Oh my god, man, I used to be such a fucking degenerate. Oh,
you and me both. Shit, I'm really surprised I'm fucking alive. That is the takeaway from my experience. I'm surprised I'm alive.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it definitely feels that way for sure. There's some sketchy nights. There's some close calls every now and then. Glad I grew out of it, sort of.
I'm glad I kind of grew out of it. My tastes have evolved to whiskey and doing highly debaucherous things.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Whiskey and YouTube. God damn. I tried not that long ago to go back to hallucinogens. I took some LSD not too terribly long ago. And I think my body just doesn't really agree with it anymore. I ran into a friend at a party. I never get out of the house anymore, but I ran into a friend at a party. It was a big event. And he handed me a gummy bear, and I was like, "Is this going to be crazy?" He's like, "Oh no, it's not heavy." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then about 25 minutes later, I sit up, and I stand up. I walk up to him. "You were wrong. I'm going to your house, and I'm going to go lay down. See you later." And went to his house, laid on the couch. It took me 2 hours to figure out how to turn his Xbox on so I could get to Netflix. That was an awful 2 hours. Holy shit. A severely hallucinating weird gutter punk like me, like fumbling with technology, trying to make it work so I could get to Star Trek. And then, 6 hours on the couch watching Captain Picard. That sucked. That was awful.
Yeah, I think the most recent venture that I had was maybe 4 or 5 years ago that I did acid one last time, and I was like, if I'm gonna see if I want to continue down this path and do this, or do I want to grow up from it?
Yeah.
I did it once. I took 2 hits of acid, and they were on fucking Smarties, like whatever. And for the next 2 days, my God, it was like all my joints were hurting. I was still hallucinating.
Yep.
And I'm over here like, is this going to end? If this doesn't end, I'm fucked. I just perma-fried myself, and I don't know how to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, woke up, oh, things are gone. Okay. I am not doing this shit again. Fuck that. Maybe mushrooms once in a blue fucking moon. Maybe. And if not, I honestly could go without it.
I honestly could too at this point. I never thought I'd really get to that point because it was a huge part of my life for not really a long time, but a very potent period in my life. It was something that I was a big part of my experience. But yeah, no, I think I'm just done. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. But all right, so
yeah.
Japan story.
Oh, Japan. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. All right. So the way we have this trip set up, we get everything ready. I make sure my buddy has the exact same flight that I do. We're on the exact same flight to LA, and then from LA to Taipei, and from Taipei up to Osaka. We get everything taken care of. We spend the night in Taipei, Taiwan, which is really interesting. If you ever have a layover, do a layover there at least once. Even day, night, don't care, as long as it's at least a 10-hour layover, just so you can see the fucking city. To this day, I couldn't tell you what I ate over there. It was supposed to be pork. I don't think it was, but I'm okay with it because it was food. I don't really give a shit.
Right.
And hey, I tried something new. That's my whole premise. So once we board our flight for Osaka, we get to Osaka, and I have no plans for Osaka. It was just we arrive in Osaka, we stay here for a couple days, few days, what have you, and then we head out to Tokyo, because Tokyo already had reservations for an Airbnb. We were going to stay there for the remainder of our trip. All right, cool. So my buddy, he's like, all right, we need to find a place to stay. It's 9 o'clock in the morning somewhat, and we need to take a train from here to wherever we're going, because the Kansai airport in Osaka is actually an island.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it is, and it's weird. Hold up. Don't do that. God damn it. You can still see me, right?
Mm-mm.
There we go. All right, there we go. Bloody hell. Whatever the hell that was, I guess somebody else was trying to call me. But he's like, okay, and he's looking for a hostel, and he's looking. He's like, okay, fine. So he finds a hostel, and it's 7 train stations up. I'm like, all right, fine. So we go, we figure out after like 10, 20 minutes of how to use this fucking little thing that dispenses your fucking tickets, because everything's in Japanese.
Right.
We don't know a lick of it. The most we know is sumimasen or gomenasai, like I'm sorry, or excuse me. That's the most we know, and that's just based on whatever we fucking were watching at the time. So we get off on the 7th train stop. We go and look for this place. We walk across the street. We hang a left. We walk down. We find a little alleyway. I say little. It was at least a good. I want to say 20 feet in width, so you had enough, but everything's kind of compact and it's very tall. Sure. So we go and we get to the hostel, and the person's like, oh, sorry, we just gave up the room that you guys were supposed to RSVP for, but since we didn't, we're like, okay, well, we'll go look somewhere else. And we look around, and there's this giant red and black fucking hostel, and we're like, we'll go check there. So we go into there, and we ask, do you have a room for 2? And we're like, yeah. Do you want tatami mats or do you want actual beds? And we're like, when in Japan, might as well sleep on a fucking tatami mat. Sure. Might as well. By the way, the most comfortable sleep I've ever gotten.
On a tatami mat?
Yes.
Huh.
It is fucking weird. I don't know why. Maybe it's because we were over there. I don't know why, but it was comfortable. It was probably because of the jet lag.
Maybe, yeah.
Probably because of the jet lag. That was a long fucking flight. But, like, okay. And they tell us the room will be ready around 2 to 3 o'clock. Okay. So we decide we go wandering around Osaka. We wander around. We leave our bags, and we're like, you know what? Can we take a shower? They're like, yeah, here's the keys for your shower. And it's the 2 tiny little doors right there. I'm like, okay, fine. So we go gather some clothes. Because honestly, sitting in 2-day-old clothing and 2-day-old funk without a shower, just no. BO and me don't get along. So go take the best cold shower I've ever had, because I can't figure out how to turn the temperature to hot. So I'm there in this cold shower, like, oh my god, this is fucking heaven. As you can, I can't remember how cold it was. I think I had it somewhere at like 50 degrees, because it was preset to 50 degrees temperature-wise for Fahrenheit, not Celsius, because I couldn't convert it in front of you right now, because math. So take our showers and everything, go and start wandering around. When we start wandering around, we see a whole bunch of arcades. We go and spend the next 4 hours walking Osaka, wearing ourselves out, and then as the room was about to be ready, we sat in a ramen shop. We're like, okay, fine. We paid $6 for bowls of ramen that were about that big, that deep, together.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was dirt cheap. And it was this little, like, you just slide the fucking little door open, you sit down, and again, we don't speak Japanese, so we want this. Don't know what's in it, but we want this. All right. So they make it $6. Eat like fucking kings, because fucking ramen. We're in Japan. It's fucking ramen and traditional. Yeah, that just is amazing. And by the time we finish it, we're like, I don't feel like bloated. I don't feel full or anything. Okay, whatever. Just, it was one of the things that I noted is that every time we ate, we never felt like overtly bloated or sick from eating. So we get into the room, and I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to take a quick little nap. Rack the fuck out. Wake up at like 9 o'clock in the evening. And my buddy's like, well, I'm going to go wander around. And he goes and gets himself into some weird little trouble where he basically wandered into a bathhouse.
Oh, good.
It wasn't a straight bathhouse.
Oh.
He walked into a gay bathhouse. And he wandered inside, and he's like, okay, cool. He pays the equivalent of $10 to go take a shower, to go experience the whole bathhouse thing. And he walks in, he's like, okay, cool. He's already in his towel, completely fucking naked. Walks in, and there's a dude blowing another dude in the back over there. And he's like, I'm going to leave. Turns right out and walks. Leaves it, gathers his clothes and everything, and walks in. But there's also more to this story. It gets better. It gets a lot better. So he gets there, he buys some stuff at a fruit stand, he comes back up and he's watching some TV, and I get up and I'm like, how long have I been fucking asleep? He's like, oh, you've been knocked out for a while. I'm like, all right. Well, I'm going to go wander around. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to go take a nap. He's like, okay, fine, whatever. He's like, wait, no, it's you. You're going to go find something crazy. Even if you're not trying, I'm going with you. All right, fine, whatever. So I get dressed, but I put on nice pants, I put on a vest, because I'm expecting to go either find a bar, get really shit-faced, find a karaoke bar, get really shit-faced and sing, or find some other type of club, because obviously, as being a kinkster, you're going to go find the really nice fetish clubs that go hang out, have a nice drink, enjoy a live show and all that fun stuff.
Sure.
What any normal, sane person would do. Like, okay. So we go and wander around, and the area of Osaka we were in, we didn't know the history of. That's a really big, important part of this.
Okay.
So So we're wandering around, and we're looking, and there's this place called the Zoo, and we didn't realize at the time that we were right next to it, and it's this giant, I guess the equivalent of a flea market, where it's a bunch of people that own these shops and everything, and they sell wares, they sell old games, just random things. So we're walking down this zoo for about 20 minutes. We're just walking all the way down, and we get to the end of it, and then we hang a left. As we hang a left, the kind of mood of the area changes, and there's like nice little traditional lanterns everywhere. It's very pretty. The streets are very fucking clean, which is, I can't figure out why we can't do that here. You could cook something on their streets and still eat it. No shit. It is really ridiculously clean. So when we're walking, and all of a sudden, like, the kind of ambiance changes from the lighting from the lanterns. They go from like this orange to like a kind of pinkish tone. I'm like, all right, whatever. And there's these houses, and it's, the front door is like this giant wooden door, and it's shut, and it has like rice paper covering on the windows and everything. It's very, very old school Japanese, and even the buildings are shaped like they were in the Edo period, which is very nice, very historic. We're like, oh, we're in the historic portion of Osaka. All right, cool, fantastic. We were in the historic part of Osaka. We just didn't know what the history, again, behind it. The history is the important part. So we're walking, and we see a takoyaki shop, which, if anybody doesn't know, it's little like pancake-covered octopus chunks, which are fucking amazing. And then there's this boxing place. And as we're walking down, we start seeing that these houses are open. Like, okay, and there's a nice little mat, and then there's a chair outside. Like, all right, we pay it no mind because no one's outside.
Right.
We start walking, and we start walking, and we start walking, and then all of a sudden we start seeing the little obasans. There's a couple of them, and they're sitting out there smoking a cigarette, and they're in their, I guess, would be the equivalent of like night gear. They're in like shorts, shirts, and they're just there smoking a cigarette, kind of. And it looks like they're just enjoying the night. Like, all right, I'm sure you can see where the story is going.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, like, all right, whatever, and we pay it no mind. Mind you, this is my first trip out of the country. Period. This is my first time flying everywhere in the States I've driven to, whether on an 18-wheeler or in a car. So, again, slightly naive to how the rest of the world works.
Right.
Like, okay, fine. So we start walking, and we start walking, and we start walking, and all of a sudden we start seeing these really pretty girls sitting on these fucking little mats with the obas on there. And they're not paying us any attention. So I'm like, all right, whatever. But they're in, like, different costumes. And they're not overtly sexual. It's like cosplay, I guess, like some summer wear, some sundresses, a shrine maiden outfit, like very cosplay-esque. I'm like, all right, fine, I guess, whatever. And then we see a camera portrait on the sign. Like, oh, so you can take pictures with them. Okay, so I'm sure you have to pay for the photos. And again, me thinking very linear, very dense, thinking of exactly where we're fucking at. And my buddy, he's traveled the world. He's kind of the same way. He's like, he's having a great time. He's like, we're talking, we're having a great time. We're experiencing Osaka. That was the whole thing. We're having a great time. As soon as 10 o'clock hits, you see all the Japanese businessmen start wandering the streets. Start going up to these little places, having like the biggest smiles on their face as they walk in and they leave. And we look at each other and we're like, no, this can't be what we're thinking, can it? This can't. This certainly isn't what we're. No. Fuck it, whatever. We're not going to pay it any mind. So we're going, and all of a sudden, the old lady started talking to us like, "Oh, dozo, oni-san, dozo." And translation, that means, "Come here, big brother," or "Come here, sir." Like right. we're accepting patronage. Again, no lick of Japanese at the time. And we're like, what the fuck? I know what oni-san means. I know what that means. Dozo, it sounds very fucking familiar. I can't put my finger on it. Like, okay, fine, whatever. So we're walking, and at this point in time, we've walked blocks and blocks of this area. And it's all still relatively pink. The ambience is like, it's very welcoming, very comforting and everything.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Of course it
fucking is. So I'm like, all right, fine. And we start seeing various different costumes, and all of a sudden they start getting very, very sexy, very, very appealing. I'm like, okay, hold on, hold the phone. Like, finally the gears are turning. Like, dude, I think we're in the wrong place. We really shouldn't be here. He's like, why? And we see like these two Japanese dudes come out of the same fucking area, and they're giggling and they're slightly drunk. And my friend's like, okay, fuck it. And he grabs his phone, he grabs his translator, and so typing, what kind of place is this? And he stops them. He's like, sumimasen. And he points to his phone, and you see the translation, and they're reading, and they're like, ano. And they're trying to find the words in English, and they're like, sex time. I'm like, oh shit. Oh no. Oh god. But wait, there's more. There's a lot more to this story. So we look at each other, we're like, oh shit. Oh fuck. We shouldn't be here. We're Americans. We're on a tourist visa. We really shouldn't be here. Clearly, this is only for Japanese only, because in Japan, and Shinjuku specifically in Tokyo, there's a lot of Japanese only, like, salons that only natives can go to, because they don't want any foreigners fucking things up. They're very, very, I guess the word would be xenophobic is the easiest way for me to explain it. They're very strict and stringent on what they want, and they want to preserve their way of life over anybody else's. Right. That's exactly the easiest way that I can put it. So we start beelining it back to the fucking hostel. I'm like, all right, fine. I still don't believe it. So I'm over here on Google. I access the internet. I'm like, okay, fine. And I'm like, holy shit. So in Japan, prostitution is illegal. End all be all. It was made illegal after the war, or sometime later after the war, except for that area in Osaka, which is the oldest and the longest running brothel district in Japan.
Ah, gotcha.
So I'm like, okay, interesting. So I just had to go on Facebook and tell everybody of my exploits, because everybody is worried and they're like, well, we need the update. Come on, tell us an update. Like, give us something. So I tell this exact same story. And a few of my friends thought it would be relatively hilarious to go, okay, check your PayPal. Wait, what?
Oh.
My PayPal account had $300 added to it because they wanted to see what I would do. Considering, again, this entire conversation, sex and me don't work unless like it's something I'm doing for my partner. So this entire thing was very off kilter. It was very funny, and just one of the most embarrassing things to have while I'm live on Facebook in front of my family, my blood family. My dad was watching, my mother was watching, even though I don't talk to her. My cousins were watching. And I get an instant message from my old man. You better not be fucking screwing a prostitute over there in Japan. I'm like, I mean, technically it's legal. Technically. So if I did, it's just fine. And everybody's just laughing. You just see nothing but laughter going on in this live feed. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I've turned red at this point. And I had to end the stream, and me and my buddy were talking, and it's like, dude, this is fucking nuts. I honestly didn't know we would end up over here. I'm like, somehow this all seems planned a little bit. This seems like something you would accidentally plan, even if you didn't, even if it wasn't intentional.
Right.
You're like, no. Like, there was nothing in Google about this area. Like, where did you go to find this? I'm like, okay, so I went through Reddit. I went through Twitter. I went through everything I could find, and I had to find it on Wikipedia, because there's nothing about this area in Japan on Google at all. They keep it out of the fucking news. They keep it out of the search engine because it promotes sex work.
Yep. Sounds about right. That's wild. Holy shit. So what'd you do? I mean, you know, when
absolutely
in Japan...
nothing.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely nothing.
That's fair. I don't know what I would do if I was put in that situation. No, I do.
Is Mems giving you the evil eye right now?
Huh? Oh, no. I'm just coming to terms with my own depravity.
No. Yeah. Now, if I was allowed to, and I don't know how the sex working business works, because, like, again, still one of the densest motherfuckers in the world. I don't, like, if I was able to do like a photo shoot and do like rope bondage with them, oh fuck yes, because most of them are actually ex-Japanese adult video models. So they're all very pretty. They're all very attractive. But one of the things that kind of like squicked me out, because we went and we traversed the area during the day. And the thing that was really fucked with our head was the fact that you can actually see them getting from, there was a lady in her 60s and she looked fucking dropped it gorgeous, but they started getting younger, and that's where the issue was. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna, like, if I did this, I don't know if I'd accidentally sleep with somebody that's 13, because that's the age of consent in Osaka is 13.
Right.
That would fuck me up.
Yeah.
Real bad.
Yeah, that would... okay, that's a good point. Holy shit. Yeah, that's the nice part about places in America that's legal, like the Bunny Ranch or some shit like that. You know that they're definitely, like, of age. Like, of age.
Which is fun, which is perfectly fine. I mean, if you're going to pay for sex, cool. More power to you. Like, awesome. hey, if you need the comfort of a woman, by all means, pay for it. There's no shame in it. Just make sure it's legal
Right.
and take care of it that way. Or have a pro dom or dominatrix beat the shit out of you and go your merry way. Just make sure you pay her and don't try anything funny.
Right.
Well, there's only so much you can try if you're in a chastity belt and bound, but some people still manage to fuck that up.
It's amazing how much people can fuck up despite, everything pointing against it. Oh man.
I've stopped being surprised at that, because you hear some horror stories coming out of, like, even just the vanilla and the kink world. Like, there's some bad horror stories. And there's some really hilarious stories. There's this one story in Houston that I'll probably have to tell you off live stream, because it violates so many fucking terms of services, even for YouTube.
Oh damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're nearing the end. Is there anything else that you wanna bring up or talk about?
I don't know. I mean, I've pretty much listed most of the like talking points of whenever it's like, oh, by the way, do you know who this person is? Well, kind of. Now I do. I'm pretty much straightforward. Most of the things in my life I will tell you face to face, or in this fashion. I'm very open and honest about my life. There's not much I really hide. There's no point in it.
Right.
I outed myself a long time ago, because kink is one of those things where it, like you said earlier, it's very stigmatized, because I've seen people lose their livelihoods because they were kinky, because they liked a little bit of slap and tickle privately in their own fucking bedroom.
Right. Whereas
So
if you're open and overtly vocal about it, like, it's no longer a weapon somebody can use against you.
yes, these are things. Granted, it has limited my ability to get some professional work. Like, I can probably not go back into doing a lot of the optometry that I used to do, depending on if it's private practice or if it's like lens crafters or some shit like that. Like, I couldn't go work for lens crafters because you're around children. That's one of the biggest things, that you're around kids, and instantly you're stigmatized as one of the, like, grossly obscene, perverted people, and it sucks. Don't get me wrong. It really does, being looked at it like that. But at the same time, I wear it as for fuck's sakes, I have a leather vest that has a pin of a girl that is bound, and one of the ropes is coming up from her fucking crotch, that I wear publicly. One of my other shirts that I bought, it was actually from a female artist out in New Zealand, where it's a girl bent over and has a double-headed dildo coming out of her ass, and the dong goes all the way to the shoulder, that I wear publicly. It is my favorite shirt to wear to events. Like, just very, very vanilla events, I'll wear this shirt, and the looks on people's faces is very appealing, just to see the people go. Mind you, I try to, like, if I'm going out to like a Walmart and I know there's gonna be kids, I'll wear a hoodie even if it's 90-degree weather in Texas, just to make sure that is not near children. But like adults,
Right.
very vanilla, very, very vanilla adults that are still very, like, cloak and dagger about their sex life, sexuality, whatever you want to call it, is the easiest, like, table conversation, because I wore that shirt to a Postmodern Jukebox concert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, me going to a Postmodern Jukebox concert. It's very, very, very weird. It's very weird, very off kilter. And I was outside having a cigarette with one of my buddies that took me to the concert, and this random girl comes up, bums a cigarette from us, and is talking, and she's like, "Yeah, sometimes the cigarette prices just fuck you right out of the ass." And my buddy's like, "Yeah, kind of like what's on his shirt." And she looks at my shirt, she's like, "Oh, and you just start seeing the gears start turning, like, should I talk with him? And I'm over here like, yeah, no, my shirt's cool. And I walk the fuck off. And again, me being dense. Yeah, didn't realize she was, like, interested until later on. And I was kind of laughing at myself for that one.
Yeah. Well, sweet, man. It's been my absolute pleasure. Tonight's Fascinating People has been TentacleBound. And all of a sudden we have, like, crazy feedback.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think my phone was going off.
Oh yeah,
because I'm doing all of this from my phone.
It's all good, man. But yeah, no, thanks for sitting down with me. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this. It's been driving me fucking nuts.
Me too. I'm glad we got this done. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I am seriously going to write down the don't play Monster Hunter. I'm gonna fucking stick that on my goddamn monitor tonight because I need to. It's self-care for sure. Thanks, man. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate this too. This was massive amounts of fun. And if anybody ever wants to message me, just find me on Twitter. You'll see it. Or if you have the other alternative websites like FetLife or anything like that, go ahead and find me. We can have conversations like that.
Absolutely. So, oh yeah, and so we're gonna go offline, and then you're gonna tell me that funny but inappropriate story. But for everybody, yeah, for everybody who's watching live, thank you very much for your attention. Everybody watching in the future, goodbye, everybody. The video is over. See you guys later.
Auf Wiedersehen.